Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
Happy Friday, Mike.
Happy Friday, Phil, and all our favorite listeners out there. We've got an exciting big day today. It's super special, and I want you guys to know we are doing 2 complete podcasts on the same day. So let's call it Podcast A and Podcast B. So I don't want you to miss out on, thinking that you're listening to us now and then miss the other one. So just so you know, there's 2 of them today.
Right. 2 totally different podcasts, both kind of politically related, but totally different. We're about to do a South Park season 27 episode 3 review, and then we're going to come back and do our regular scheduled podcast that covers pretty much everything that's going on in the world today.
That's right. So excited to be with everybody. It's going to be a good day, Phil.
I think so. So, Mike, South Park dropped another viral episode. Trump is back in power. ChatGPT is the new religion. Ketamine is therapy. Layer in the immigration dig. And tech bro worship and South Park goes nuclear. Mike, was this genius political satire or just a drug-fueled fever dream dressed in code?
Okay, so I'm going to take this podcast in a completely different direction than you might be thinking in your head, Phil, because this episode, so this is just so everybody, we're on the same page here. This is season 27, episode number 3. The title was Sycophancy.
Sycophancy, yep.
Sycophancy. We're always going to pronounce this wrong. So it's talking about sycophants, right? People that are, which for those of you that were not English majors out there, that means somebody that is, well, I'm going to give you pure English. Somebody that's kissing up, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But for those who really want to know, it actually is a very old word. It goes back and it initially related to people who are in power and the people under them. And those people under them basically just kissing their ass.
Right. So this episode, I'm going to break it down. So I'm going to go in a different direction than you're thinking, I think. Well, maybe not. And you summed it up at the top of the show here. It addresses, well, I think this is what I think it addresses. I think it is talking about, obviously, so it starts out sort of with I'll call it a pot farm, right? It's a fantasy pot farm. And I think there's some symbolism to this thing because as a lot of you guys know that the marijuana business in the United States is a couple things are going on. It is kind of suffering, probably. Yeah, it's way down. It's suffering very similarly to say the booze industry, and so there's, and then we get into this chat GPT thing, which is really interesting, I think. And then we get the ketamine, the drug part that gets involved in this. And then we also talk about, obviously, then it brings in Washington, D.C. and Trump and the rest of it. But I equate this episode, this is van life in a shoebox. Let me tell you. Now, I know there's going to be some people out there that are in our Overland van life world here that are going to be pissed off at me, saying this. But, Phil, I had to laugh. I started watching this episode, and it goes from, here's your failing marijuana farmer, and he's like, oh, my God, what do I do here? And next thing you know, you got ICE immigration is coming through, raiding his farm, stealing all his Mexican workers. So he's like, so obviously there's symbolism involved with, this whole thing going on in the background with ICE and
And Mike, pardon me.
Yep, go ahead.
This is disclaimer. We are going to reveal everything. So if
Everything.
you don't want to hear what's going on, go watch it. It was a good episode. We'll tell you that. Come back and listen to this. Go ahead.
That's right. So, anyways, so he doesn't know what to do. The poor farmer, right? So what does he do? Like every van lifer that I know, hits the computer and goes to ChatGPT, right? That's the first thing everybody does. Now, I don't know. I'm old enough to know, and I don't. What do you think about this, Phil? I'm old enough to remember. This is going way back now with my computers, and I used to buy. What was the cow brand there in computers? A Gateway.
Compact
I used to buy
Gateway. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Gateway computers, and the woman that you'd wait on hold. Tell me that she does not sound like and talk just like the Chat GPT girl in this episode, right?
She does.
So it's kind of funny because she gets on there and like, well, what's your problem? And he's like, well, I'm failing. I'm going out of business. The government stole all my workers. What do I do? And of course, in its infinite nonsensical way, which is kind of way Chat GPT is. She says, well, what do you think we could do? And it's all positive, all 100% positive. How do we turn this around? And let's turn this into a plus. And this is real life, though. And I'm going to tell you the reason I equate this to van lifers. So what happens next? He's like, I don't remember if she suggested or not, but takes a little hit of ketamine. All we got to do is clear our minds and think really intelligently here, and let's introduce everybody to microdosing. Now that is the big. Let me tell you, microdosing is the biggest load of shit I have ever heard in my entire life. And for somebody that has attended a bunch of quote van life events and overland events, and people talking about doing breath works and yoga, and let's have a little micro dosing involved with this because it's going to make our minds really good. Okay, now you could see that now these guys that are running this episode clearly have latched on to this, right? And so they bring in this. They start out with like a little puff there, right? Within 10 minutes, they're puffing like every 20 seconds. It's hilarious, and I just laughing. This describes van life in a nutshell to me, because everybody's out there searching for the right way. They're searching for the meaning of life. They're searching for how do I improve myself? All this shit, right? And the reality is life isn't all roses and unicorns. So and I think I equate Chat GPT to unicorns, right? Because it'll make it seem like everything is possible, right? I'd really like to be travel to Mars. Oh well, let's see if we can make that happen. Well, okay, that's not going to happen, but of course, if you start microdosing on ketamine, it probably will, or at least you'll think it happens. So, anyways, I know I'm all off. I'm all in a tangent here, but what I saw here is the progression of van life. Right? They get on the road, they struggle for the meaning of life, similarly to this marijuana farmer. Something bad happens. In his case, it was ICE taking away Mexicans, but we'll equate that to something else. Your van breaks down on the side of the road, and next thing you know, you're doing yoga and doing some ketamine to make yourself feel better, and you're going to solve the problem with Chat GPT. And that's, to me, that was the funniest part of the episode. And I'll break this episode into two parts. And you'll probably agree with me, Phil. Like it went through about 50% of the episode was that.
I agree.
And then the second half of the episode was bringing in Washington D.C. Donald Trump with his micro penis, sleeping with Satan again, but the correlation here is, as we've seen in the news, all of a sudden, Trump and his administration is starting to eye, maybe we could make marijuana legal federally. I wonder why that is.
Because they are thinking about opening up some weed shops and some.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, let's cut to the chase. So there was a lot to unpack in this episode for sure. I enjoyed. So we reviewed for you guys. I've watched all three, by the way, but for you guys, we reviewed episode 1. I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. I enjoyed this episode more than 1. What did you think?
I thought that they learned from that first episode because this one was much smarter.
Yes.
Just even with the name of Sycophancy coming from sycophants, it actually played throughout the whole thing. It wasn't just the sycophancy of AI. It was the sycophancy of the people surrounding Donald Trump. It was the sycophancy of people to Satan. Everything was tied into that.
Towley to the what's his name? I mean, the whole thing. Yep.
And what I think they were trying to drive home with it was, especially with the ChatGPT portion, is that yes, ChatGPT and all this AI stuff, they are incredible tools, but you got to have the good idea. You got to have the smart steps, and they just clean up the steps. You know what I mean?
I think they did a good job of showing you. Oftentimes, ChatGPT is what I would call a yes man. It yeses you to death.
It will make you think you're smart, just like they were saying, because everything you say, it talks to you like you just came up with the world's greatest idea.
Yep.
Another thing is the tone of AI's voice. And when I say the tone, I don't just mean the sound or the cadence. I mean the words. It makes me think that we are headed toward a point where people are more interested in relationships digitally than they are with a real person.
Yes, absolutely.
You've basically just taken Google search and made it conversational, because it's really not that good.
And you get some of that in this episode from the wife.
Right.
So from the farmer's wife, ironically, though, you see even she gets sucked into it by the end.
It gives you I'm talking about ChatGPT and other AIs.
Yes.
The way they converse with you, it comes from a in my opinion, very left liberal side.
Yes.
And what I mean is the way that they communicate, soft words, not condemning. You get what I'm saying? I don't know.
I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. Yes.
So that was something I think they were trying to emphasize too.
It doesn't rock the boat, right? You're never going to have a conversation with it and come up with ideas where it says, Mike, that's a terrible idea. Don't know. I mean, you never get any negative. It's 100% positive reinforcement.
The thing that I don't like about it is you could just ask it, give me a facts question, and it'll still give you its opinion. And it seems as though its opinion typically goes against my opinion.
Yep.
And when I question it about it, it will literally debate me before it will concede if it's wrong. It will debate you back and forth for a while until it'll finally where you can literally say to it, so are you admitting you're wrong? And it'll finally say yes.
Yeah.
Have you had that experience yet?
Yes. I've played around with it for sure. I mean, you can kind of poke the bear. I mean, I did this. I've been doing this for years. I have the Alexa device, right? And I used to try that with her all the time. But she's, I mean, in comparison, she's stupid. Right, her and Siri. I mean, Siri's even worse. That's like that. I mean, Apple needs to get their head out of their ass with their AI because it's terrible. Honestly, it's just awful. Google's is better, and obviously, ChatGPT is in a whole different league. AI is an interesting development. I mean, not to get off subject here, but iPhone or Apple is going to do and I think it's next week or whatever, is going to announce their new iPhone coming out. And everybody's waiting to see if there's more AI involved in it because, quite frankly, their smartphone is starting to become dumb.
Yeah, there's like I have an iPhone 16. I got the latest one, the 16 Pro, right? Mm-hmm.
I still have the 15.
I only have it because my last one was a 13, and I just wanted to upgrade. But there was no reason for me to my 13 does everything except for satellite and a few other things. It does everything that my 16 does.
See, I went from the 13 to the 15, and I'll be honest, the only reason I did it was to get the USB-C cord, because the new iPhones have the cord, because that old stupid cord that Apple used to have was dumb.
And that was a major reason too, because going to the USB-C to my phone, I was able to go USB-C across the board with everything now. There's a few little things that I've got, but basically I'm a USB-C dude now.
Oh God! At this point, if it doesn't work with USB-C, I chuck it. Right. Like seriously, it's just garbage to me. It drives you crazy.
Right, Mike. So, what did you think about? What was the message that they were trying to give off about Towley and his trip to Washington, D.C.?
Well, so
wait, let's back up.
Yep.
So ChatGPT suggested that they give a present to the president to make marijuana legal all over the United States.
Correct.
And when he gets there, they are military all over the place. It almost looks like old world Germany Nazi. I believe they really were trying to make it look like that.
Well, I think they were throwing in a little bit of talk about sending the feds into Washington D.C. But we're going to talk about that in the other podcasts.
Right.
So there was a little bit of that, but yeah, agreed. They were trying to make. They're obviously well. Okay, I'm not going to say it. Let's go in order here.
Oh, we are so far out of order. We have to come back.
Well, I was going to go to the end. At the very end of this episode, basically, it concludes with, there's no way out. You got Satan in the bathroom or whatever, and he's like, it's hopeless. There's no way out. Yeah, it was almost, to me, I took it as indicative of them saying Trump has succeeded. Trump has won. Like. Did you take it that way? That's what I felt like at the end of this episode.
Yes, I thought that the clear message was once you get entrapped with Trump, you're in. You're trapped.
Yeah,
there's no escaping. Even the devil can't get away from him, and he really wants to.
Exactly. So you get Towley goes to Washington D.C. and of course realizes that he's there to present, like you said, Phil. They want to make marijuana federal legally, and he's there to present to Donald Trump a present, because that's what everybody does, because you got a line of people from Saudi Arabia. And by the way, we've seen this in the news lately. I mean, look at all these people that have been.
That was a couple of weeks ago.
I mean, everybody and their brother has come through Washington, D.C. at this point. We've got images of people giving the president, which they took a little dig at, airplanes from wherever the airplanes come from, the Middle East. People bringing, Trump. I saw video footage last week of Trump giving a tour of his hat collection for sale, his MAGA collection for sale in the White House. They've turned one of the rooms into like a concession room. So there was a lot of imagery in this that was relevant to what's going on, and we joke about it, but to be honest with you, it's somewhat true. It's happening.
So let me tell you what I think was the symbolism of Talley going to see Donald Trump.
And by the way, we should mention here, Phil, he is the president.
Right.
Little did you know that.
So to me, it was clearly saying that we are now in a space, as far as with this particular president, where if there's anything that you want to get done, you have to go through him, and he gets all the benefit of it, and you have to praise him and give him presents and everything, and then he treats you like a comrade.
Well, I mean, I think there's
because that's what he was. Remember, he was hanging He was hanging there at the end in the bathroom. And they had it looking like what? A comrade.
Yep.
And that's just like how he basically treats everybody.
Yep.
He makes everybody bow down to him. If you haven't caught on to that, Mike.
Oh, for sure. And the whole thing about it, if you don't show up without a present, there's truth to that.
And then
100%.
And then the people who work for him, it's hilarious when every
JD Vance,
he's sitting there at his desk and then everybody's standing. I always recall presidents sitting at a round table or an oval table or a long table or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting here and they're behind me. And let's say he gives them 3 minutes to talk about something that he has them doing. They'll spend 15 seconds on telling you what it is that they did and how far they've progressed. And then the other 2 minutes and 45 seconds is sucking Trump's.
Oh, yeah, there's no question. You get up there and go, well, this is what I accomplished this week. So many thanks to Donald Trump for bringing this to everybody's attention and giving me the power to do this. Oh, yeah. No, it's 100%. I mean, this episode, the way that they portrayed this was dead on. No question about it, dead on. And that's, truthfully, we talked about on the first episode, it was a little bit in your face, meaning that I was a little bit turned off by the imagery I thought they crossed the line a little bit. They learned, I think you were right. They learned from that a little bit and pulled back. I mean, they still had him get naked and have his little dinghy hanging out and getting in bed, wanting to have sex with Satan, but somehow it was better.
Yes, less is more sometimes.
Less is more.
I think that it opens this up to a larger viewership, this particular episode, than the other one.
Yeah,
the other one was almost X-rated.
Exactly. And the other one was almost 100% focused on that, where this was only the Donald Trump piece of it was only a portion of the episode. Like I said, they spent at least 50% of it more criticizing and talking about society in general. And as I said, I mean, man, did they nail van life if I've ever seen it. Holy hell.
So, Mike, I want to cover another portion of AI. ChatGPT told them that they could be successful with one Mexican. All they needed is one Mexican. So they went to an ICE facility to get
steal
one
a Mexican.
Yeah. And then they used ChatGPT to give them instructions on how to break in the place. So I got two different things I want to talk about. One is there is a lot of scary information that's available to you through these AIs. Maybe you can't get into ICE like they said, but you definitely can use it to figure out how to like build a gun or something like that.
Oh, sure. How to pick a lock, build a gun, make a bomb. It goes on and on.
And
absolutely.
I think they also made another strong point in how these businesses that hire illegal aliens, how they really feel about them, and it's simple. He was like, I only need one Mexican. He could have let them all got out, but he got his one, locked them back up.
Right.
So I thought that was a very demonstrative way of showing visually of how these companies think about people.
Well, I think they think that they're just pawns.
Exactly.
They're not thinking that they're people at all. They're just pawns.
They made one Mexican a pawn. That was their pawn.
Yeah.
We using him to be rich.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, and they were definitely talking about business owners there, and you and I talked about this on past podcasts where there's not a lot of discussion by the way, from either side, from the left or from the right, about the actual business owners. And with all these ICE raids and all this stuff going on, it's always, the focus is always on these pawns. It's never on the people that are utilizing the pawns.
And that's why neither side can convince me to believe that any of this political stuff is real, because everybody deep down knows it's one simple way to solve this whole immigration thing. If the employers were to be punished for hiring these people,
wouldn't happen.
They wouldn't come.
That's right.
It'd be over.
Well, like everything else, you have to take away the incentive, right? So you're always going to have people trying to jump fences and trying to create tunnels to get here if there's any hope. So if you take away the incentive, meaning the hope, then there's no desire to come. And that's true of just about everything. I mean, in theory, I could turn that around and go the reverse direction. And we're going to talk about this probably on the other podcast. But you know, if you actually enforce laws, then it creates an incentive for people not to break them. But when we don't enforce laws, there's no incentive, right? So, you know, people talk about the death penalty. They talk about, you know, the implication of murdering or theft or whatever. If there really isn't an implication, there's very little, you know, impetus to stop it from occurring, right? So, I mean, that's the big. I think that's the takeaway here, and that's the problem. We are, some of this episode was dealing with our culture. Look, to sum it up in a couple of sentences, the Mexicans, or let's just call them brown people, have become pawns for wealthy society to make them richer. I mean, it's just the bottom line of this whole thing. So there's not a lot of discussion about this because neither the left or the right is motivated to talk about that, because God forbid, I mean, those both of those sides are being controlled by the wealthy.
Bro, listen to how they talk about them. And I'm talking about both sides. They routinely basically say we need them to cut our grass and to pick our fruit and stuff like that. Those aren't demeaning jobs, but they're talking about them in a demeaning way, saying that we need them for manual labor.
Yeah, but you know, it's always we need them. It's not we need, you know, John, Carl, Juan, Pablo. You know, they're not people. We collectively need the resource to do it, and there's very little connection between humanity and the job. I mean, that's the bottom line. Whereas opposed to, you know, if you look at you know, a large company where let's just look at a CEO, for example. There's always humanity attached to people that are in higher paid, higher recognized jobs, right? Because there's like, how many hours a week do we work? You know, how much vacation time do I get? What's my quality of life? You know, how does my job salary fall in line with the local economy, and you know, all those things. That's never discussed with what you're talking about, Phil. That's you know, when you're talking about picking apples or harvesting tobacco, that we're not that discussion is not coming up at all.
They don't want the conversation.
Of course not. So there was some of that in this episode for sure.
So what didn't you like?
Didn't I like
about the episode? Because there's one thing that I want to speak on, Mike.
Okay.
They're reckless. There was something in the first episode that they were really reckless with information on. I just don't remember what it was. But this episode, ketamine, most people never heard of it.
I have, because I'm in the van life world, and that's a big drug.
Yeah,
because everybody is convinced. By the way, if I go out right now and go on my list of social media followers, as an example, and ask them what their thoughts on that drug is,
it's going to be positive.
It's going to be positive. They're going to tell you that it helps them focus, that it lowers their depression, that a whole list of stuff. And then they're going to get into microdosing and how to integrate it into your life. And then the next thing they're going to do is they're going to tell you about mushrooms and how that integrates in it, and how we can do yoga and stare at trees and become a better part of the world, and all this other fucking nonsense. So yeah, it's portrayed positively. And at the end of the day, I mean, let's look at what's his name that died. You know, they didn't mention that. The actor from what the fuck was that show?
I know you're talking about. He was.
Yeah, I can't remember. Jennifer Aniston and all those people and Friends.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he died of an overdose of it. And in his case, he had been prescribed from a doctor a what they call I guess a microdose of it that was to treat his issues, but that wasn't enough, and he had to go on the outside to quote illegal doctors and get more of it, and eventually he overdosed on it. But that will go, so if you ask your van life community their thoughts on it, they're going to tell you that it's not a drug that you can be addicted to, and that that isn't the case. That's not where that goes, and it's obviously full of shit.
Well, I live in a
so van lifers out there listening to our podcast today. I know you all hate us today, and that's good, because our ratings are going to go up.
But people do it here. We got a lot of tech people in this neighborhood. They think that's the coolest thing in the world. But
because it's supposed to, their belief is it makes your mind focused.
And to a certain extent, it does. But from my observation, I'm not a doctor, but from my observation, it is more of a mood changer in the way that they use it than. And this is what I'm saying. I have not met anybody yet who uses the ketamine that doesn't at least minimum smoke weed. And
well,
they may do other drugs. So the point I'm getting to is usually, from my observations, the person is using all of these different drugs to regulate their emotions, their feelings, their energy level and stuff throughout the day. I've got to be on this Zoom call, so I want to be up. Okay, I don't have anything to do for the rest of the day. I want to be down, and or I want to feel trippy or whatever. So one thing, I haven't met anybody yet that just uses that drug by itself.
No, agreed.
And they're not using it in the way that they're saying, like, this is going to make me a better programmer. No, you basically it's the new cocaine. It's pepping you up. And as you need it because you're probably taking something that you use to take you down.
But Phil, let me just say this for a second, because some of I'm not going to mention names, but some of the people that I know that are, I'm going to call them in the, I'm going to use this word lightly, but I would call them in the health arena. Okay, they're in the health arena, and
are these people also in the schoolie van life?
They're all. Okay. I'm not throwing out names, but they're all over the place. I mean, but listen, they're in a healthy, quote, healthy lifestyle arena. They're preaching health, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, drugs can alter certain things. So can good sleep. So can eating well. So can drinking more water. So, I mean, I can go on and on about stuff. So, I mean, for anybody to tell me that like some artificial drug, or let's address this, or even some natural drug like mushrooms, quote, natural coming from nature, is the best way to go. I don't know who you're fooling. I mean, you're fooling yourself maybe, and you're fooling your friends, and you're all going to, get together and park your vans in a circle and sing Kumbaya and be happy, and then, do some fucking yoga. But like, you're full of shit. And I don't want to sound harsh here, but like, you're full of shit. No. My buddy, it's funny. Because being in our kind of world, we obviously are friends with a lot of different people in a lot of different walks of life and a lot of different places, and et cetera, et cetera. And you run into lots of people on the road, and so I could compare, like, let's say one of my friends that is more, I'm going to call them ketamine / mushroomy people. And yeah, some of the things that they do are fun, and I'm not saying they're all negative, because I mean, look at some of these people I'm friends with, so I'm not saying that they're not good people. But then on the other side, I got friends. I got a buddy like Jason back east that, he's an Ironman dude. I mean, he's, you talk about health. I mean, he's doing all of these things that are truly healthy for your body, that are real, right? You're eating right, you're exercising, you're doing your workout routines, you're doing all that kind of stuff. I mean, hey, man, I give him credit. Fuck, he's probably listening right now. But I mean, I could do some of that. But like at some point, I'm still looking over here. I'm getting a little caffeine fix. I got, being down here in Mexico, I think I got a little bit addicted to drinking Pepsi, because all the locals drink so much freaking cola. It's not funny. And I never drink soda in the States, but I'll tell you what, down here, it tastes good. Anyways, I'm off topic, but like, we're always off topic. That's we should just rename the podcast off topic.
There's probably some people listening specifically for this review that don't know us, don't know what our stick is, any of that. The name of the podcast is Random Waypoints.
That's right.
We ramble, we talk, but we are going to talk about this episode. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. but I mean, but bottom line is, and so to me, you asked me what I didn't like about the episode. There was an element to that. I'm going to agree with you a little bit, Phil. I think there was an element in it that made the ketamine and the some of that, the drug stuff, mainstreamy. Like, it made it seem like, yeah, this is good. Nowhere. I mean, it did poke fun at it for sure, because when he first said it, or first was suggested to try it, it was like, just one little microdose, because that's going to make our mind think so well, and our body be great, and we're going to be able to turn the business around, and then, like I said before, within 10 minutes, he's like, they're both doing it. He's doing it, Tally's doing it. And then by the end, he's sitting on the porch talking to his wife, and he's in outer space. He has no idea where he is anymore. None. And then he suggests, well, maybe you need to take my phone away because I'm addicted to the ChatGPT. Oh, no, I don't think it's the ChatGPT that you're addicted to. I mean, you may be addicted to that as well, but I do think the episode showed that that isn't the answer. Certainly from a healthy perspective, and having run many businesses in my life, going down the road of any kind of addiction for that matter, and obviously it's a serious thing, it never works. Let's just put it that way. I used to be in the restaurant business, and I can't tell you how many other friends I knew that were in that business, both from working in it or being owners, that were messed up. Like just messed up. They were just, you name the drug, they were on it. And it's a sad fact of life. But, we're going to save this for the other podcast, talking about all these other things. But, bottom line is, it's like, I get asked down here all the time because I'm in Mexico. How does Mexico feel about the United States? How does it feel about this whole border thing and the fentanyl and all this stuff going back and forth? Well, the bottom line is, we've said this before, if there was not a demand, there wouldn't be a cartel in Mexico.
I agree.
Right? I mean, end of story. That's an American thing.
So, Mike, I want to see how you see something that I think I saw. So Sharon, which was the wife, she was getting fed up with him using the ChatGPT, right? Mm-hmm. And so she decided to deconstruct what it does and try to emulate ChatGPT. And it seemed to make her husband warm up to communicating with her.
Yeah, she was starting to speak like ChatGPT.
Right. But a lot of people end the joke in their mind there. But immediately what I thought was, okay, so it took ChatGPT for you to finally listen to your husband and affirm his wants, his needs, his emotions, and things like that. So I thought that was an underlying message to it that they may not have even meant to put in there, but it was there.
Well, tell me, it didn't sound like you're sitting in front of your counselor, right? Your therapist is in front of you.
But imagine if more wives, when their husband came to them with a stupid idea, said, well, that's a good idea. Maybe you need to look into it or whatever.
Yep.
They wouldn't have that argument. He'd go find out he had the stupid idea and come back and then thank her again for supporting him. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was a message.
No, for sure. That was definitely a message. I also think there was a message in there that was relevant to the Donald Trump part of the thing too, where, they're playing on the real life of Donald Trump, where he listens too much to everybody. And there could be somebody in the periphery that presents him with an idea, and the next thing you know, we're going down some rabbit hole of that's what they're up to. You know what I mean? Like, that maybe that's indicative of somebody that is a narcissist. And if you have enough people that are telling you this is a great idea, suddenly it is a great idea. I don't know.
Well, I always, even before he got into politics, I have looked at Trump as the rich, spoiled kid who's always had yes men around him. And that's what it is. He's never wanted for anything. He's never had to truly hustle for anything, not in the sense of the regular blue collar hustle. You know what I mean?
Right. And
he's always had people who worked for him who had to do what he says since a child. And I think he has that childlike candy, kid in the candy store type of feeling about it up till this day, about power, about him changing his mind, about all of that. I believe that even has a lot to do with what I actually compliment him on is him being a peacetime type of president. It comes from that childlike leadership thing. He don't want to fight. He want to play.
Yep. You're right.
Mike, would you recommend this episode to anybody?
I would. I recommend this more than I recommended the first one
to anybody.
Well, when you say anybody, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so who would you recommend it to? I definitely would have recommended to an adult. And
if you're asking, no, I would definitely not recommend it to children for sure. I mean, but South Park has never been for children.
And I wouldn't. I know who my friends are who are emotional or sensitive. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody who wears their heart on their sleeve. Because there's a lot of things that we're making fun of that people hold dear. There are people who hold the marijuana market as a dear political cultural thing. There are people who, about the immigration and there's a bunch of different things that go on in this.
I agreed, but let's take the marijuana thing for a second. I mean, I don't know that this episode was reflective of the fact that it was anti-marijuana or anyway. I think it's just telling reality. In the United States right now, the marijuana business is on a downturn. It's a loser right now. It's struggling, and there's many factors behind that. But that's just the reality. So I don't think it's necessarily a reflection of that. It's
so back when we were teenagers, Mike, they used to sell nickel bags. Mm-hmm. You had a little bag of weed about this big for $5, and then you had a little bit more for a dime bag, right? Mm-hmm. And since that time, marijuana prices have escalated and escalated and escalated. And you buy like a sandwich bag of weed. That was like about maybe $45-$50 for like a sandwich bag of weed, right? Which is maybe a third of an ounce. Living here in Washington, I can now go to a cannabis shop.
Right. Yeah, a legal one.
I can buy an ounce of weed for $20.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how falling out it's been. Mm-hmm. And there's so many people who went and bought land here and get the rights to be able to grow it. Yep. That there's no advantage now because that's everybody's little. They took their money, they took their COVID money and bought some land and selling weed.
And we've seen the same thing, say, in the craft beer industry, where there was a brewery opening up on every street corner, everywhere. And I could tell you, I was watching the news back in where I'm from in the Northeast, and there's 50% of the breweries are going out of business. It's just a fact of the matter, and there's many factors behind that, but so I didn't see that. I didn't see the episode particularly downing the marijuana supporters.
No, I was just listing off all the different subjects that it covers, and that there's something for everybody to be offended about if they want to be offended. So if I have somebody who's that type of person, and I do know people like that, you do too, I wouldn't recommend it to them.
I'd recommend it to all our listeners out there, and I'd like to believe there's a lot of them that are like us, like in the middle somewhere. We like to listen to both sides of the conversations, both sides of the right and the left, and basically pick on both of them.
Yeah. I've had people comment to me thinking that I'm on one side or the other, and I am not.
Right. Nor am I. So if you guys have been listening to this podcast, we've talked about the episode 3 of season 27 of South Park. This is one of 2 podcasts today, though. So if you're listening to this one first, there's another one out there you better go check out where we're going to talk about lots of stuff. And welcome aboard to this one if you've just listened to that one.
And just a couple of highlights. We're going to talk about the church shooter. We're going to talk about Snoop Dogg. Park. We're going to talk about the Mondami bench press incident. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to talk about Trump,
Washington, D.C., Chicago, you name it, we got it.
Anything else you want to say, Mike?
Nope, that's it. Looking forward to another episode of South Park, possibly. Let's see what happens.
All right, guys, you know what I'm going to say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully we'll see you here or on a trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.